Scott Poole with the American Ghost Project and another edition of OMGhost with my co-host Rowan Winter.
Howdy.
With us today, as usual, we've got Pat Calhoun.
What's up, everybody?
And also Kelly Downs.
Hola.
Hola, Isadora.
Our esteemed guest.
I don't even know if I said that right.
Hola, soy Dora.
Kelly is joining us as the director of the Arts Council for Southeast Missouri. We talked earlier off camera. You said your medium of choice is all over the place, but you focus mainly on
painting and photography, so both like watercolor and oil painting.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of photography do you like?
I really like urban landscapes a lot. I like the movement, and I think there's just like I'm endlessly curious about that. I love architecture, but then like, you know, when you're out in nature, like especially in the desert, I feel like that's my favorite place to photograph.
You should
Especially at night.
She should totally go with us to East St. Louis. There are places that we go that I can segue to whenever it comes to the urban landscape. And we don't just investigate the paranormal. There's also the historical preservation side of it, where we go urban exploring or urbexing. And we actually had, this is a neat story. I haven't talked about this in a while. We were outside the Gym Theater in downtown Cairo, Illinois, on the Ohio River side, and which is a gorgeous old theater. It's got a tree growing in the side of it. That's how you actually get into the theater, because it's grown into the side of the building and basically opened the side of the building. You just crawl in. That's how you get in. There was a reporter from Chicago there that saw. We were in the bus, weren't we? We have a 96 Freightliner ambulance. I'm sure you saw it outside. We are so subtle. Yeah. Everywhere we go.
Do you ever roll up with the blues and twos on? With the weeboos?
That's
if we have permission.
If we have permission, but it's incredibly illegal.
Yeah, if we have permission from local law enforcement, then we'll do it. But
most of them aren't going to really care about it, but in the state of Illinois, you got to be really careful.
Does it even have the siren on it still?
Everything works.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the intercom system, it's
the intercom,
beautiful.
I can wake up the neighborhood with the intercom system. We even have a PA system that works.
You got to never let me ride in the
We've had
because I will get you pulled over. I will not be able to.
We drove to the Sally House. I know that we're digressing off of that story, but on our way to the Sally House, which is in Kansas, right across the border from, it's in Atchison, Kansas, right across the border from Kansas City. I was driving through downtown Kansas City and like through the highways and talking to people, like just. We were like 30, 45 miles an hour, and I was like, I'm incredibly disappointed in you, Kansas City. This traffic is horrible. How do you guys manage? And they're all like,
God.
Giving a comedy show in traffic through the big horn.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
We've done that. We did that in Nashville traffic too.
Yep.
Like we were just having a conversation with a guy in the truck next to us.
He's just waving at us.
That's rich.
Making, I've instilled this into my children. Either make a stranger laugh once a day, or don't expect it, but try to achieve a thank you from a stranger every day. Whether that's holding a door, letting somebody in traffic, stopping a robbery, average things.
Yeah, that's
okay, Batman.
So you're a superhero. For sure. No, we were outside of the Gym Theater, wrapping back around to the Gym Theater, and that reporter from Chicago was there, and she walked into the theater with us, and then completely forgot that she was there to do something else. Like she was so enthralled by exploring old abandoned buildings. She goes, "Oh, I can see why people do this now. Yeah. This place has got a story."
Yeah.
And thank goodness.
Urbexing is fun.
Yeah, thank goodness we were there. Across the street from the gym was an all-black theater, or if you want to be politically correct, at the time it was an all African-American theater.
Never seen such like elegant deconstruction, because the buildings were like done in the neoclassical style, that you could tell every single detail of the buildings in that town were paid attention to. And actually John Lewis, the great civil rights activist who ran, SNC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and Freedom Rides, and went on to be a really important legislator. He actually did a bunch of campaigns in Cairo, Illinois.
No kidding.
Really?
Which
That's
you'd
cool.
be like, isn't that cool? Like I
What
just
year
read this.
do you know?
This would have been like Just after the Freedom Ride, so it had been like 65, 66. He did one in Charleston as well. So he was just riding around, rural America. He was from, I think, rural Alabama and went to school in Nashville, Tennessee. But he would just roll around
That's crazy.
this area and just, protest unjust laws. And so, yeah, like having a black theater or, things like that actually contributed to a lot of what happened with Cairo being a ghost town.
Mm-hmm. More or less.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Some of my favorite stuff from just like either urbexing in general or from Cairo would definitely be like the intricate tiling that they did on all of entrances. Yes. Like I have a piece of the tile from the theater because that one guy was out there just moving bricks that I was just like, oh, I don't want this to go to waste.
Are they like painted tiles? Like what's in the Marquette Tower lobby?
Yeah, and you could just look down on the ground where there was a building and then you can tell where the entrance to that building used to be because of the tile work. And you're just like, damn. I mean, it's all gone.
It's like someone made art out of a building.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy what's happened. Like, the way we build things now compared to how they used to.
And that's something else that, like, for me personally, something that I want to do whenever we do urbexing, or because I also minor in photography a little bit, is I definitely want to shoot all of these locations because I feel like there's still beauty and decay, and that shouldn't be something that people just forget about.
Oh, for sure there is.
Just because it's dying out, you don't need to think about it anymore. Some of these places, especially churches, from hospitals to movie theaters, especially churches because stained glass, are just so beautiful.
I hate to say this, but like I kind of understand there's for sure a beauty in destruction. Like some of my favorite photos personally, like I would never consider myself a photographer, but like some of the stuff that you see, like these war correspondents post and like images like of war and stuff, like are pretty incredible. Like these moments that they catch and stuff. So yeah, there is a little bit of beauty. I think
there's something like so evocative in the imagination because when it's already constructed, you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
That's the way that our world works because literally everything around us has been constructed by the hands of man. You know what I mean? And when it's deconstructed, we also have to think about our place in the universe. We also have to think about like who we are, what we invest in, why we structure our lives the way we do. So there's something about decomposition that implicitly inside of us makes us go like, oh shit.
It's like looking at a bad car accident. You don't want to look away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, because I know like specifically for me along those lines, I'll be in different states or whatever if I'm on vacation or like I'm always working, looking for places that look abandoned or look haunted. So I can't turn that off. But I'm like constantly looking at these empty plots of land and then just immediately provoking a thought of, I wonder what used to be there. It's nothing now. It used to be something. This used to be important to someone. So that's always thoughts that I know just like for me that goes through my brain that, looking at decomposition or destruction and just seeing like, what did this used to be?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's kind of like, there's like a zen to that in that like, us here in this moment, you can actually like draw all the lines back, and then like to all the way to our birth, and then what are all the conditions that led to our birth, and then what was before. So like that desire to think about what was before, you're like trying to draw into source, whatever source is, like you're trying to go all the way back into like, well, this had to be something, this had to be some other way. And that's like that investigation, like once you start pulling at that thread, I think can be an endless source of creativity and curiosity. Because you can always like pull at something and find some sort of like story or some way of representing, or that curiosity is really good.
Because that's still what I want to do whenever we film at these locations. I want to breathe life into these buildings that haven't had activity or people in them in years, decades, whatever. Yes, like this is why this project is so close to my heart. I know personally, it's beautiful to see a building actually have life back into it because someone took the time to draw out this entire blueprint to make all of the bricks
another 100 years.
To make all the bricks, everything down to just how they install the window panes is just a work of beauty and of art, because someone poured so much time into it that it needs to be appreciated. And even if, like we're talking about decay, even if it is decaying, it needs to be appreciated, because that used to be someone's day-to-day or their whole life. So like, it shouldn't just sit there and just go to nothing.
What we're all getting at is like essentially like why I love what I do for a living, is because I am constantly thinking about whether or not the spaces around us are being used to their fullest creative potential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To me is a question that is always like in my own house. I have to like rearrange everything all the time to be like, you know,
Yeah.
and it's always this question of making sure that things are sustainable and that everybody can be sustained. Otherwise, we're using too much.
Yeah.
If you have a bunch of space that you're not utilizing, then you have too much. Why are you abandoning something when it could go to another purpose where it would have fulfillment?
Right.
And that question, to me, then you start to get into city government, then you
Yeah.
start to get into, you know, zoning and ordinance laws, then you start to get into, you know, iniquity. And then it's not just about art and creativity, because if you allow creativity to give people the skills that they need and the resources they need to like prop these places up and beautify and make them more interesting, then people want to live in those spaces. Then vitality returns.
Right.
And so the idea of the abandoned, to me, is like kind of a failure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it
is.
hurts
Yeah.
looking at abandoned buildings. I'm
Lost potential.
like, I was like, I want this to be something again.
Yeah.
Like, we were just at Fort D doing like B-roll for the podcast, the first podcast, and
You mentioned it.
yeah,
I got to show it.
and
the
we
rule.
we went there, and the school or whatever it is now that's right behind it,
Very green.
it's just sitting there,
Hmm.
and I can't help but look at those buildings with yearning. I'm like, I want this to be something more.
My high school teacher, who's the greatest teacher I ever had, made us stop saying like, and he said for a month, watch the number of likes you say. Be willing to pause. And that changed everything.
Yeah, I know. He's looking at me because I do that so much. My best friend back in like my best friend in 5th grade, she slapped a rubber band on my wrist one day and said, every time you say like, I want you to pop it. It broke the habit, and then I picked it up again.
Well, you just have to watch the Kardashians for 5 minutes and you'll be like,
Yeah. Like.
yeah.
It's
Like.
yeah.
nails on
rather-
a. It's
I would
nail.
rather shoot myself.
Exactly. It's nails on a chalkboard for me. Every time you say like.
I really do, though. Honestly, I really do prefer the more like natural flow of conversation.
That's
Regardless
cool.
of the
Yeah,
pauses
I mean,
and
I get it. Then you can do the editing. I can do something else.
Do you ever get annoyed
Oh, I'll just
when
post
you
it
see-
raw. I won't edit it at all.
4 different cameras. There is no posting it raw.
I'll just put it up on like a 4 screen.
No, that won't work.
All 4 shots.
Gonna make everybody go
an angled
quad
shot.
blind. Quad blind. Yeah, that's what I meant.
But
You-
haunted dolls.
Haunted dolls.
Abby.
Haunted dolls.
Okay, yeah.
Abby has a story. We can put her in the middle.
No.
No.
We can sit her down. Can we start like Abby has a story and then set her down, and all of a sudden like you can edit her just like popping up?
You said
like,
you
in
didn't
between
want it
them.
to be all edited in and popping.
Well, you can edit this out, so you don't have to do that.
So she is from Covington, Tennessee. A lady called us a couple of years ago with some supernatural events and unexplained events that were happening in her house. She calls us and says, my grandson's having all these occurrences. So we go out there like 4 different times. Our last time there, we had discovered that there was a portal in her house. Somebody had opened it at one point, then it never closed it. We were downtown before that. We were in the antique shop and had picked up this old Raggedy Ann doll that was energy neutral. So as a spirit medium, I can detect if there are energies infused in objects. I'm slowly teaching him to do it as well. He's getting better and better at it. The more you practice, the more, obviously, the better you get at it. And that doll was energy neutral. Her name was said during the investigation. And it kind of occurred to me that, well, we're going to close the portal. We're going to give you guys the opportunity to get out of here and go through the portal, because if not, you're not going to be able to go back and forth. You're going to be stuck on this side. Or you can go into Abbey and infuse inside the doll and come back with us for further study and hang out in the studio or in my house or in this studio. You have your choice. I did tell them that if you choose to hang out at my house, you're not going to stay there long, because the spirit that's already there will run you out, because she doesn't like multiple spirits in our house. Long story short, she's haunted.
Yeah.
We don't know about how many.
It's at least a dozen. It's kind of what I'm picking up. And they come and go. And she loves the dead ringer that we have, or the dead bell. I call it the dead ringer, but because, it's just...
It's a cool name.
It's a cool name for a device. But Sean and the guys at Ghost Stop up in Lynchburg, Virginia, developed a really, really neat device that kind of meshes old technology with new. So it's a bell, like the old school bell, like at a hotel or a store, but with a little wooden box. I guess we could bring it out, but a little wooden box underneath it that has a sensitivity rating on it. And I think it's a USB-C charging device that is an electromagnetic frequency detection device. So if there is EMF around it, or if spirit wants to interact with it, and they love it. They absolutely, because I'm guessing, like, yeah. And we haven't actually seen
the box.
We haven't actually seen the so they can physically interact with it. We haven't seen that happen yet. But if it detects EMF, it will go off. And I had it in my hand the other day with the couple that's from Jackson. You want to talk to her, because she looked like she was genuinely wanting to communicate with her. And I just turned it on and I set it up on, I actually had the thing next to my phone and it didn't set it off. And then I set it on top of the case and just kind of stepped back, and we started asking her questions, and it goes off. She loves interacting with that bell.
These are like Pavlovian ghosts. It's rad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, if you only had so few options to interact with the real...
Do you think she knows Morse code?
She might. And
we say she did, too bad, because I don't.
It's more like they.
Right, right.
I mean, there's...
Once you get into the spirit realm, it's not... Yeah.
I mean, they do have genders in the spirit world. They will identify as a male or a female. But what
Sometimes
I mean by they...
Yeah.
But what I mean by they is because there's multiple in there. I don't know how many...
Yeah.
And one of my favorite instances, like especially with her, was we took her to the Sally house that we were talking about. We brought her just to, also see what would happen if she interacted with the space. This was after the fact, so she had all of her spirits still with her, and we brought her to the Sally house. We ended up talking to a spirit that was a Confederate soldier, and his name was Tommy. He ended up in the Sally house. We don't necessarily know how, but he was injured and he couldn't get back here. A little bit prior to this, actually investigating this building, we'd met a spirit of a woman who was looking for someone. And then we went to this, when we were at the Sally house, he was looking for someone and he wanted to get back to someone. So we were like, who? It was the exact same name of the woman that was here. And we were like,
Is it Jenny or something?
Yeah. We were like, is it your lost love? Like, do you want to go back to her? And he was like, yes. Like, we got separated on different sides. He was Confederate. She was a part of Union. And we said, you can go into Abigail and we'll bring you back to her. And we did. And that was, oh my God. That was one of the most crazy investigations because of it.
We were crying.
We were crying.
Literally.
Talking to him.
One of the most prolifically haunted, violently haunted locations in the country. This house has got a history of attacking people. And there's supposedly a demon in this house. And we're bawling.
Yeah, we were crying talking to him, and we slept in the house. Like,
we did. We slept in the house.
Letting something into a doll, though, if there's even suspicion that there's some kind of demonic presence.
It'd been clear.
Like, how do you know?
It's intent. It's all about intent. And since we have control of this side, The intent was for him to go into the doll and nobody else.
And we had a REM pod on the doll, and as soon as we were talking to him, he was intellectual. He was having a conversation with us. That's why we were crying, because we were learning so much about him.
He was setting that device off, which was insane.
Yeah, and he set the REM pod off like right after we said, "You can go into Abigail. We'll bring you back." He set the REM pod off right by the doll.
Damn.
So we assume he was smart. And yeah,
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. And the building, like, so with Sally House, people were told not to cleanse the space, and someone had. So that's why it was way more chill there for us.
Yeah, the first time we crashed on the way there. Did you know about that?
No.
We drove a couple years ago. There was an ice storm, and we drove through that ice storm. We should have gone to Springfield and then up. That would have been the smarter choice. I don't know why it didn't occur to me until several years later. But I honestly didn't think that ambulance does not handle ice well at all. It's almost like it has no weight in the rear end. And that is 9 tons of vehicle out there. Yeah. It's a very heavy ambulance.
Yeah, it's a unit.
And we drove over a bridge that had iced over. I wasn't driving. Logan was. He's a part-time investigator. He was more full-time back then, but he's part-time. Actually, ever since the Sally House, he kind of reverted back into a part-time role. I think it really affected him in a negative way. And we fishtailed back and forth right in front of that semi. Thank goodness we didn't hit him. It was right before the Arnold exit. So it kind of gives you an idea of where. And if you go up there, right after that bridge, look off to your right sometime. Right before the Arnold exit. It's a cliff.
Right.
And he directed that 9-ton ambulance into the median, thankfully. I've never been in a vehicle or been in an accident or been in a situation where I know 100% we're going to flip. There's no way we're going to get out of this. And she tipped, but she did not flip. That's crazy. I mean...
But yeah, you guys crashed and
then stayed in a hotel that night because of the weather. Came back outside. The ambulance wouldn't start. It's never done that, by the way. It's a very reliable vehicle. Even as old as it is, would not start. Finally got it started. Got all the way out to Atchison, Kansas. We're following my mom's, or the Cadillac. My mom's got a 2018 Cadillac Escalade. Y'all know those are really nice vehicles. We've never had an issue with it. We have an Airbnb that we stayed in that night. We investigated and then the Cadillac stayed out in front of the Sally House all night long. Got finished with our investigation, drove back to the Airbnb, and the next morning the Cadillac wouldn't start. We had all kinds of crazy stuff happen. That place is...
And then you had like people throw up as well.
Yeah, and then we had physically got sick. 2 of our investigators physically got sick. Walked outside and threw up at some point during the second night of the investigation. I mean, it is that place serious. I'm serious when I say this. It's like the Super Bowl. You don't just go into, I'm just going to get into this casually and then go to the Sally House. This is not for the faint of heart. But since then, we had heard that somebody had been in and had blessed the home. It's completely different.
Yeah, I went there
the
expecting it to be crazy, and I was just like
I felt welcome.
So that like poses some, psycho-spiritual questions, doesn't it? Like that what does that mean that you can enter into a space? And I think that's kind of the difference between like spirits and what you would call ghosts. Mm-hmm. Because I think that like ghosts are kind of entities that feel trapped in like a netherworld. Jean-Paul Sartre, the existentialist author, has this play called No Exit, where he views like purgatory as this like waiting room. And it's like, when you're in a dream and like you're in a hotel room, but it's like also a waiting room, and you're like, and people just keep kind of entering.
I think of the waiting room in Beetlejuice.
Yes.
It's like
very much
the DMV for the dead.
Very much.
Yeah.
And so it's like when I'm practicing yoga, right? Like, or Reiki, one of my masters, like we had this girl come in and she was like, I'm like giving all this healing energy and like I'm just like healing people and like I like they come to me and I'm just like I can do that. And she was like, whoa.
That's gonna be in the beginning of the episode. That was amazing.
Really healing and
The Valley Girl is top tier.
Holy shit.
That's
I'm
so
sold.
so but my teacher, who is literally Yoda, goes, let me make it very clear. You did not do anything. The energy does what the energy does.
Yep.
You're a facilitator, but like we do not have control over energy, and to think you do is a vital mistake.
Yep.
So when dealing, when you're talking about portals, when you're talking about transformation of energy into objects, like what do you have to do to make sure that you're kind of like abiding by spiritual laws when you do that?
That's a good question.
It is a good question.
Well, I know.
Backing up, when we went back to the Sally house for Devil's Night, which is the night before Halloween, as soon as I walked in, the energy in the place felt completely different. It was so incredibly unwelcoming the first time. It was heavy. Like, it's hard to walk up the stairs in that place. You feel like every step is weighted going up the stairs. Not anymore. Like I said, I knew it walking in that it was different. And how we slept in the living room. That people don't do that. People don't go to the Sally house and just sleep peacefully. You can now. So, how do we know that we are abiding by spiritual law? Well, I mean, that's a good question. Being that I'm a Catholic, I believe that, how do I put this? It's all about belief and intent. That's where it kind of boils down to. And like some people will say, you don't have any control over spirit. You're absolutely right. We don't.
Ill intent or not, you shouldn't be meddling. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people will. There are paranormal investigators out there walking around and being on social media and infecting people with the idea that they can cleanse any space. By God, you cannot, because I've got free will. God gave us that.
Right.
Even if you don't believe in God, a creator created you and gave you that free will. And it exists in the spirit world, whether you want to believe that or not. It still it transfers into the spirit world, that free will. And if I'm in a space and I don't want to go, you can't make me. It makes it even harder because now I can't see you, feel. All 5 of my senses are gone. I have no idea where you are.
Yeah.
Now, I can pick you up off that couch. I don't think you'd appreciate it. But I can move a physical object. That might be some resistance. I understand that.
I appreciate it. For sure.
But it's but at the same time, you can still object. Yeah. And spirit can do that too.
No, please don't.
And that's what I tried to tell Robin Mayberry, who's the owner of the house in Covington. I said, listen, sweetheart, we can encourage them to go and close the portal. We talked to a white witch. A Wiccan, she was a Wicca, right? On how to close it, because I'd never done that type of thing before. So
We'll wait.
For whatever spaceship just passed.
Yeah.
That was my stomach. Sorry.
Now you gotta leave it in.
well, it was like what we were talking about the last time. It was like blah blah blah, evil spirit, and it was like.
Yeah,
That was crazy,
it was
dude.
obnoxious.
If you have a dark spirit in your home, who are you calling?
American Ghost Project? No, a priest. It's construction. They're still there.
I am sure.
I
It just
I
sounded
heard
like
it
a
the second
freaking
time.
growl.
I heard it.
oh
I
my
heard it
God.
the second time.
Perfectly timed. If you have a dark spirit. That was not my stomach. I don't know what the hell that was. Jesus.
It's like.
Do they have a soundboard? It's
so
right there. I didn't touch it, guys.
That's so funny.
What were they doing? You said that's construction.
No, that wasn't last.
I know the
Last
last
time was
time.
like-
You were like, that's construction.
Like
You didn't say
revving
Is
or
that your
something.
impression of me? Oh,
But my God.
God, that was obnoxious.
Anyway,
Like, I just read this book called The Devil's Greatest Trick.
Okay.
Okay, and it's like you were talking about like a white witch and portals and stuff, and so this was a journalist with like Vice, and had like been all over the world doing really cool stuff, and there was like a series of like satanic killings, you know, kind of in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Yeah, like Texas. And so he was looking into them, and it led him to like the brujas in Mexico, and he actually wound up like going to these like in the middle of the Mexican jungle where he had to like be driving like it was dangerous.
Wow.
Dangerous stuff, and he, you know, he met with, some were white witches, but some were not white witches, because like if you take it all the way back, and this is what he was like, he basically goes through the history of the devil, which is already fascinating, but then the history of Mexico alongside that, and there is a little bit of historical reinvention when it comes to the conquistadors. Not that these guys are good or anything, but when they came in to certain areas of Mexico, they were practicing a lot of like satanic rituals. They were killing people by the
Goodness.
hundreds of thousands. And so they would go through Mexico and they would find these temples made of skulls. Hundreds of thousands of people. And it like, Cortez is coming from Spain, and he's like,
They're like Catholics. Like,
yeah, they're Catholics.
What
They're
is
like, what is
this?
going on
Yeah.
here, right? So that changes, like, that does change, you know, how much you're like, that guy is the worst, you know, and Neil Young's writing songs about it. But you're like, hey, Neil Young, you go to a town with like just skulls everywhere and see how safe you feel.
Yeah.
But it does kind of get into, you know, the mix of like these old world beliefs with the Catholicism, and now there's, you know, those things are intertwined in the culture, and so some of them still practice the, you know, using white witches, and you know, it's fascinating. The reason I read it is I'm Catholic, so you know, I'm also interested in my own perception of what that is, because I don't know what the nature of evil is. I don't know if spirits are evil. I don't know if density, like when you walk into a room, because this happens all the time, you walk into a room and you're like, this is dense, like something's
heavy.
Something's
The vibe
heavy.
is off.
The vibe is off. There's like, I had that happen at the Glen House. I didn't know anything about anything. We went there and we were like, ha, we're playing for Halloween. And like, I am very sensitive to all the spirit things already. And so like, it's not always good for me to be playing in those areas. Some people can do it better, but I just can't. And we were walking up the stairs and I like grabbed my son and I was like,
Nope.
I get that when I'm in this building by myself.
you do?
Yeah.
I got it. I mean, downstairs is like a different, like, is a different story down
Like
there.
if
If she doesn't,
when
if
I'm
she
coming
doesn't
up-
want you up there, she'll let you know.
That's what it was. And I got to the landing and I was like, this isn't, and I'm
Did
getting
you feel
chills right now.
the female spirit of the house?
Didn't know what it was until I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to ask questions. Nobody told me. And then like a month and a half later, they're like, oh, you know that like a little girl fell down the stairs there. And I was like, yeah, I did know, but nobody offered that during the guided tour. I would have like, do I want to know that though?
Ruby Sue is the one that runs around up here.
Okay.
We've already identified the spirits, some of the primary spirits. Edward's downstairs. Ruby Sue and Edward know each other. I think it's a platonic, obviously, relationship. He's an older gentleman. She's a little girl. But I think that Edward is kind of a little on the slower side, but he loves the building. The Countess is on the middle floor. She's the woman of the house, or the lady of the house, so to speak. And we believe... Ruby Sue has made mention several times of the Glen. Several times. And we got a really cool EVP. Now, this is before we had even come to this building. We got a really, really neat EVP of I'm just a few miles away from the Glen House.
Nó cũng có một chút kiểu bùng nổ một cái nữa chứ.
So we're thinking that Ruby Sue and the little girl from the Glen used to play with each other. There's got to be some kind of connection because they would have been around the same time frame.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure out what the historical. There's no way to know, but spirits are going to tell you. And if they're talking about the Glen house and the Glen family, then there's got to be a connection between the Walthers who used to be here and the Glens that were down there, and then some of the other prominent.
It was a small town. It used to be
It
smaller.
was much smaller then. I mean, we're talking like prominent figureheads that started the Cape. Well, when it was a Cape.
The Cape.
Right.
I like that.
And
The Cape is gone, but it's
We
still
should take
Cape
that
Dorado.
to city council. We should change the name of the city to the Cape. That goes hard.
But no, there's no Cape. That's the problem. It's gone.
It's just a Gerardo now.
Yeah, it's just
Just a Gerardo.
it's just named after Gerardo.
It's just a Gerardo.
I don't know when the Cape
That
left.
song up.
Gerardo doesn't seem
think
like
the
somebody
Cape-
I would have a beer with.
I think the Cape went down the river. It's not here anymore. Anyway,
but
my God.
August is actually still in the building as well.
absolutely.
He's the original founder
He's the patriarch.
of this.
Okay.
Of Walther's, you know, the sign out there for
Discovery
Playhouse, that shape, just replace it with Walther's. That's what it used to say. I don't
The
know how long-
tiling is still on the front of the building.
Yeah, I don't know how long you've lived in Cape, but they did keep the original sign, which is, I think, really cool. I think that's super neat that they did that.
But
I
we're
think
talking,
it's cooler that they put a kids clubhouse in a casket company building.
yeah, we're talking about a building that was built in 1864.
It's got a freaking
Kids
you know
love caskets. You know the thing though? No, here's the
What
thing.
the hell? Where did that even come from?
that needs
Kids-
to be something
Kids
What?
love caskets,
Kids
guys.
love
You heard it first.
Casket.
like
Oh my goodness,
like
the energy.
a demented like kids lunchbox, like kids
No,
like
but
casket.
like
It follows us.